to our class on Shmiras HaLashon. We are moving along in book 1, section 1 over here, in the Shar HaTvuna, the gates of discernment. And today we will discuss the midah known as bitachon, okay, which is a personality trait in which one can put their faith into Hashem. And we will be talking about setting aside times for learning Torah. What an interesting combination. Let's figure out why those go together. Another thing, says the Chafetz Chaim, which a person should focus on doing quite regularly, is to increase their strength in the personality trait of bitachon. Okay, trust in Hashem. We're just going to call it bitachon from now on. All right, like it's a legal document. Because not only is this a holy and a compelling path to take in one's life, and it brings us closer to our ultimate goal, we have to really understand how this plays out in terms of guarding our speech. Because there are so many times when our heart just turns against another, and our own belief system is corrupted to get us and say bad things about others and turn them into the worst versions of themselves. Because when we make the consideration in our own capacity of doing things, or that we are going to somehow say that we're going to punish him by reducing their business, or we're going to somehow reduce their favor in the eyes of others. And it's really difficult to raise up over this feeling. But if you really think about what the rabbis say in the Talmud, that a person tries to not move in on the possessions of others. Okay, so we are, even the slightest bit, every person would contribute the following: that whatever was meant to happen is from Hashem, and that thing that comes from heaven will impact the other person's honor and dignity and money. And the rabbis say this in the Gemara in Yuma. From here it says, Ben Azai, I shall call it in your name, and in your place shall I sit, and I will receive whatever is from you. And that is how we get the Yetzer Hara to flutter away. Okay? And so that's something to reflect upon. So what we can see through this trait is that it touches a little bit on our subject, but does take us off a little bit. It's something that we see from King David. So he says in Tehillim 37:3, trust in Hashem and do good things, live in the land and shepherd only faithfulness. So Abraham covenant storyline agreement. I don't know what this is. Someone's just writing something that doesn't make sense. So at first, the warning is to the person is to have full trust and to only do good things. And this is a very important and steady grounding for this trait, that a person can build upon that, anything, even a stronger building, which is to say that the Torah itself is telling us and commands us that we should focus on the learning of Torah itself on a regular basis, and at the very least to set aside specific times for that Torah learning, and also for doing things like giving tzedakah, right, giving charity, money towards charity, to take times out to do other types of mitzvos and good deeds. And you're going to see that by engaging in these mitzvos, you're going to lose out on time when you could be making money. And the Yetzer Hara is going to say to you, oh, you can't do too much of this. right? What am I supposed to do? You know, if I don't make more of an effort to make more money in my business, especially um, if I need the time to travel here and there, and if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? And based on that trait in a person that says to not set aside time for learning Torah, they're going to try to drag them away from it, saying that you need to focus on your business. And so too with giving charity, this is going to be a similar type of issue. So therefore, the verse comes and warns us, trust in Hashem. Because Hashem is the one who pays you back everything that's meant to come to you. And through that, all good things will come to you. The Gemara in Yerushalmi says a similar thing. It's in Sota chapter 9. Someone who used to come and cry out in the city for people to come and buy his things that he was selling. Okay? And someone would respond back to him, I can't afford the time. I'm learning right now, and I can't come and buy things from you. And if I have time to have more availability for it, maybe Hashem will come and give you more time, and then maybe also you can have more time to learn as well. So the idea is that so basically, let's go through the story one more time. So the guy was sitting and learning, and people come in and they say, we want to buy these things from you. And he said, my study is right now, and there's time when I sell, and I trust in Hashem, so come back to buy when I'm ready. So it's like basically, I'm closed. So this is something that is difficult for logic to process. So how should it be that Hashem would bring the customers to you, but all at the same time make it appear as if you're not earning something, right? So when does Hashem set the amount of money you need for sustaining yourself? This is something that's set at Rosh Hashanah, and that's because a person he asks, this is a question, is it because a person did not want to give up their Torah learning time? And so even if this does happen with the time for learning Torah, you're going to somehow lose out on profits in your business. Nonetheless, a person shouldn't be concerned about this, because there are so many different things that could cause this, that could contribute to this. And if it's not going to happen today, then it's going to happen another day. And a person should always have that in mind, that until the very end of the year, which has already been set, you already know how much you're going to receive. And that's from Rosh Hashanah until Rosh Hashanah. And the rabbis say this in the Talmud. And then Hashem will give this to you, as he's promised, from heaven. And no matter how much you want to do to force the issue, you're not going to get more than what Hashem believes you should be blessed with. That there's no way that Hashem is going to want to have you violate what is that he's set for you, what he sees as your path. And that path is to focus more time on the words of Torah. And so too, he's not going to set you on a path that would prevent you from giving tzedakah. In fact, he wants you to give tzedakah. However, the only person who would try to run away from this is someone who has basically denied Hashem's ability to watch over all things. And he even says this in the Torah, that Hashem repays the wicked with what they have caused others to lose. Okay, and that's meaning that they're losing out part of their world to come. So even if a person sees so many people, they don't sit and learn, and they do great in their business, a person should think about the following thing all the time: that there are so many things that are to be weighed and considered, that there's all types of things that could happen, They could be. He gets kind of I'm gonna meta translate here for a second. He gets kind of long-winded, but if you think about the time period in which he lived, which was 19th century and early 20th century Lithuania, these things make sense as they could possibly happen. That an army could come from afar. If you lived in Europe, any time during those time periods, that was quite possible. And any other types of calamities that could destroy everything, take all of his money away. And this is money that he's collecting that doesn't even belong to him. Because it says in the prophet Yirmiyah, it says a person collects wealth and it doesn't come through just means. And such a person will lose it all before half of his days. Okay? Or he'll lose it not the time that he wanted to use it. Because he was supposed to put certain times away for Torah and to serve Hashem. And we see this sentiment echoed in the Avos de Rabbi Nassan, which is in chapter 29, Mishnah 2. And it says the following: one who takes their time away from learning Torah, everything that he tries to invest himself in will go till naught. So the HaLashon adds a little note over here is that basically things will prevent him from trying to get to things that he's trying to accomplish. What are those things? Those things are a lion, a wolf, a leopard. Use it or lose it. They didn't realize how holy that statement is. You use your opportunities to learn or lose the opportunities for the world to come. Otherwise, use it or lose it. Usually they use that for like paid time off in government. This is very timely. Once again, very, very timely. Okay. So here's the following thing. It says that that all these things will come and bother you. Okay, the what was I saying? The lion, the wolf, the leopard, the weasel, the snake, right? The armies of people. Okay, thieves. Right? They're going to come and surround you and try to take your money away. Who is the judge of the whole land? The HaLashon points out that the officer of HaLashon points out that there is a true judge in the entire world. That's the language that the Midrash says, and this is something that operates tit for tat, mida k'neged mida. That since a person himself felt it was okay to just walk away from learning Torah and to go and collect all types of money for themselves, Hashem sends them other things in the world that have nothing better to do than to take things from you. Right? They're going to take them from you because they are capable of taking things away. Okay? And even if they don't kill you, right? Especially when it comes to the wolf and the lion, you're going to have some loss because of it. Lose your sheep, lose your sleep, whatever it is going to be. He doesn't say those words. You have to run away from them, and you have to drop your stuff, or you're going to be hurt and have to pay for medical bills. Sometimes things that could happen, such as you're going to have all types of calamities that are just acts of God. He says, "Mina shamayim." So we're gonna. That's what we are literally talking about over here. Calamities that will happen to you, sicknesses, some things that you see that you're paying all kinds of money out on it that a person does not want to give to tzedakah. And it says the following in the Gemara and Brachos that a certain amount of money is going to go towards the doctor. If you won't give your hand to the poor, you give your hand to the doctor. Okay, so if a person experiences all types of calamities coming to themselves, they should look at what their conduct is. Okay, look and you find nothing, then it's because you haven't been learning enough Torah. Right? What are the wrong things I've been doing? Have I been neglectful of other things in life? It's probably you're neglecting your Torah learning. And so I say to you, my brother, says the HaLashon, why should you look to collect tons of money that does not belong to you, or to hold on to money that isn't owed to you? For these things were given to you by Hashem. And those things that you can do with it would be to give charity, and you're taking time from those things that I want you to do, and to collect things that are for you and your time, which is the money. And at the end, you're going to have to give them all up. And you're going to experience instead all types of calamities and sorrows, such as sicknesses and visiting armies, God forbid, right? And a person should should be happy what they're able to have left for themselves with their own life. Therefore, the general rule is that this whole world is filled with Hashem. He created all things that live within it. And it says in the Pasuk, Yeshaya 43:7, everything that was created in this world was for my glory, and it was created for my honor. And so therefore, a person should not find any reason and anything in this world that should just simply be used to fulfill their own desires, and only try to find things that are good for them and good for others. And so there we see an explanation of the Pasuk, trust in Hashem, and good things will happen. Let's do 10 also over here. This is further in discussing bitachon. Okay, so we're doing number 10. And he says, when you really reflect on everything we said above, you should feel really kind of embarrassed a little bit. You know, how could you can say something? How could it be that I'm not trusting in Hashem? That doesn't make any sense. We see in Yeshaya it says in 26:4, trust in Hashem forever and ever, because Hashem is the rock of foundation, and he's the source of everything. So what does Ad means? So Ad means to say that everything is in our time, and there's certain ways in which we experience Hashem, in ways that he is not obvious in the things that he does, and the things in which he involves himself are not clear to us, which was not the way that it worked in the times of the temple, because then we used to see obvious types of miracles, and nonetheless, even then, you had people who still denied and didn't listen to Hashem, and then some people nevertheless still trusted Hashem. So, what is this like? Let's make an analogy for this. So, we'll say the following. There's a king who had hundreds of countries, and he had tremendous amounts of glory and might to his kingdom, and he had enough money to satisfy the needs of all of these different places under his empire, to all of the governors and all the appointed bureaucrats that served him in his glory. And afterwards, they found certain people in the city that they're not a lot of them, but there's some of them, that basically decided to commit treason, and they tried to take out the king. The issue was overheard by the king, and while he sat in judgment of them on how to punish these people, he went out one morning to take a walk, and he was walking through a vineyard, and he heard a voice of a small bird, very pretty voice, and it was very pretty, and it was a very pretty bird too. And he told one of his servants that take this bird, go catch it, and put it into my throne room, and I want to benefit from this beautiful singing bird. And they did that. So when they brought the bird in, and they brought it into his palace, the bird sang a very sweet song, and some of the silly people jumped up and said, he said, what a beautiful, pretty bird this is. How incredible would I like to see it, and I want to hear its voice. Again, because the songs are so pretty. And how terrible it is that that it should be that I should be so bereft of certain things in my life, that I prevented from me enough money to do these things, because I have gone ahead and acted treasonously against the king. Okay, because I guess this person's standing there with with other people in the room. That's not clear from the story. So there's some other third party who's there, made a comment about those people who are trying to rebel against the king. He makes this comment. So someone else from the king's entourage responds to him, with such a king who reigns over all of these many lands and provinces and has all types of treasures, this one bird that he just enjoys, why should they have to worry about anything else in the world? Then there's more of a concern with the people who are rebelling against the king. So here's what the story is trying to teach us. Okay, so that when Hashem created this world, here's what we found, that there was an upper world and a lower world. Okay, there's a world where the physical exists and a world where the spiritual exists. And in the upper world, there's lots of different places there, and we don't know how many there are. However, we know that there are basically 3 of them that kind of collect all of them. There's a world of creativity, there's a world of angels, and upon that is the world of the actual creation itself. And then there's this other world called Atzilut, Atzilus, and this is where Hashem puts his own holiness. And Chazal say this themselves, because that this verse in Isaiah is hinting to it. The place where I put my name, which is the world of Atzilus, I've created it for my glory, which is the world of creation, right? Which is also the foothold of God's throne, and I have created it, which is the world of all of the many living creatures that live in the spiritual realm, just like Yechezkel saw. And also you have the whole world of all the angels. I even have made this, and that's this world and all of the other surrounding worlds in this universe. And so this world and all of its surrounding universal aspects, all the other aspects of it in the universe, they are nothing compared to the one world in which the king himself exists, which is the realm in which the realm of the Malachim exists, the servants exist, because that is the world of Yetzirah. We don't know how many of that actually exists. And in every single one of these little angel worlds, we don't know how many of them there actually are. Because we see by Daniel in chapter 7, verse 10, he has no idea how many tens of thousands of these angels there are. He just sees so many of them. Okay? And then the rabbis say in Chagiga 13b that this is all at one time and one group. And we have no idea how many of them there could be. And we also see in Tana Dev Eliyahu at 496,000, tens of thousands of administering angels service HaKadosh Baruch Hu all day and all night. And from the very first shining of the sun until its very setting. And what do they do during that time period? They acknowledge God's holiness. And when the sun goes down until it comes back up, they say, "Blessed is he from his place." And all the created things and on the very highest of places, they all need for this holiness to be drawn upon them. Okay, and so because we see that everyone acknowledges, even in the scriptures themselves, even in the Tanakh itself, that he sustains all of them. So, nonetheless, he doesn't have enough to give to everybody as much as they would want. But that some of that sustenance is not necessarily actual food, but it's spiritual sustenance. Okay? And so these are the type of things that are meant to provide to them. And some of these spiritual things only really sustain the holy of angels. And so therefore, refraining from giving proper honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you find these crazy people who deny that he does anything for the whole world. So what are they trying to say about that keeps the world functioning? Right? And in terms of what keeps this physical world always moving. That every single person inside of it continues to think that their existence is worthwhile on its own, and yet above it, in these upper realms, where there are all of these administering angels constantly displaying the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how he sustains the world and keeps it going, and we see that the whole host of heaven exists at his whim. And we see that even Hashem sits on his highest of thrones, and the entire host of heaven stands before him on every single side. And this is also the vision that Yeshaya has in his initial vision as a prophet, he sees that the fiery angels stand right next to Hashem too. And they acknowledge God's holiness with things that we recite in the Kedusha ourselves. So when we think about all of this glory, and we think about our place in our own world, it just doesn't seem like it even measures up to even a mustard-sized kernel against the entire universe of worlds that exist. Because there's so many things that we don't know about. And we see that even the rabbis struggle with this in the Gemara, Avodah Zarah 3b, that the Holy One, blessed be He, in every single day, He has 18,000 worlds, and and those are all created, and the Zohar makes mention of this as well. And we just don't know how everything really functions, and yet these treacherous people think that somehow their treachery is going to mean something. And somehow in the midst of this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu finds this one people of Israel that are His favorite, and He calls them His children. Okay, and He listens to their voice, and He keeps them close in the closest of quarters. And how could people who were treated like this not be embarrassed or not be more trustworthy, God forbid, that Hashem is going to provide for everything that we need, especially since He provides for all these other worlds. And all of these ministering angels and different things that exist in these worlds that are just uncountable. A person would not act so treacherously, God forbid, even to contradict one little action of one little angel from any one of these things that Hashem created, because that would show that He believes that there's somehow no integration between the higher realms and the lower realms. And there's no reason why an administering angel, while in the course of ministering, that they would not see how this angel and how large that influence is, especially since the Gemara in Chulin describes how it is that it says that the angel Gabriel was 2,000 parsah, and which they say is that, how big is that? That's like from going from the city of Tarshish to the sea of Tarshish, which is that long. I don't know what that looks like anyway, so but I'm just reading off of his thing over here. A huge creation. And he keeps talking about how large different things are in Hashem's world. And here a person should actually recognize themselves as being quite small, even the size of a mustard seed. Sorry. And a person should really consider strongly, how am I going to be saved from all of this? Just like it says in the work of Tehillim. Okay, and so if a person really thinks strong about it, they should really say this is an insane thought process. Because, just like that little bird, it's just something that Hashem loves and wants to take care of, and you should never worry about it, and Hashem will take care of you. And that really, truthfully, is, and it's very small amount, what Yeshaya is saying, in Bitcho Hashem Adiyad, trust in Hashem forever. Now this is really what the main point is, which is that just like at the time when Yerushalayim was destroyed and Israel was exiled back in the first temple period, there were so many people at that time period, no matter how many amazing things they saw, they still couldn't believe in Hashem. They couldn't trust in Him. And nonetheless, He helped Yeshayahu and He helped others because it was still possible for them to change these things. And He still didn't want to remove His holiness from them. Just because a few people were doing wrong, it doesn't mean that the whole country should suffer. Because otherwise, if he punished the many for the acts of the few, the whole world would be destroyed. And every single moment, Hashem is looking to sustain the world and to continue to run it. And that's why we say in the blessing of Yotzer, HaMechadesh b'tuvo b'chayom tamid maseh b'rishis, the first blessing of Shema. God renews His creation every single day. And you keep them all going. We even say in Psukei de Zimra as well. You sustain the entire world towards the end of the Psukei de Zimra. And we continue to say it. that Hashem is the rock and foundation, right? That Sur Olamim, which you said at the beginning of this chapter, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the whole world with the letter of Hey. Why? Because the next world that comes with a Yud. Okay, and so therefore the idea is that a person should see the strength that comes out of these things and these letters. And this is what it says in the letters of Rebbe Akiva, that the very edges of the heavens and the earth are sealed with the names of God, the Yud and the Hey. And so that's why we mentioned that. And if a person were to hand over their decision making to good things, right? And if they don't, they're going to turn everything bad and reduce everything to nothing, just like it was before the creation. So therefore, a person should always trust in Hashem, because that's where sustenance of the world continues through that. So therefore, we discussed the full inyan of trusting Hashem, and we're going to continue. That also will continue to influence some of the other chapters coming forward. And so that's something we have to look forward to as well. So I look forward to discussing more of this idea with all of you, my listeners, and those who follow along. Please share some of these videos with others. Remember to let others come in and listen on some of these ideas. Learn to increase the level of trust. Thank you very much for coming and listening. Have a wonderful day.